Hey everybody, my name is Damiano Jones. I'm doing chapter 6 for my presentation, titled More Rights in the Workplace. To start off, I just wanted to introduce what employee rights meant. It's a term that's going to come up a couple times in this presentation, so I just wanted to make it clear what it meant, because there's, as you can see, three different versions of what it means, or could mean. The first is legal rights. These are rights that are backed up by law. You have the law that you can't work over a certain amount of hours. Um, then we have contractual rights, which are just in your contract. There's written out how many vacation days you're allowed to take, uh, what's your medical insurance looking like, and that type of deal. Then the most important in terms that really makes sense with chapter 6 is human rights. And human rights are just simply the rights you have as a human being. And that's a little difficult to understand in this context because unlike contractual rights and legal rights, there's no actual written down document about your rights as a human. So there's a couple discussion cases. I don't want to go over them verbatim, but the gist of them are pretty much as an employee, you have the right to privacy. Um, so your employee rights in this case are your human rights. And imagine if an employer asked to go through your social media, your email, phone history. How would you take that job, first of all? And if you did, how would you feel about the company? Would you feel safe posting, what you did last night, what club you went out to, or would you be afraid because you feel like your employer would be on the other side judging you or possibly trying to get you fired because of that? Another way to look at it is, privacy in the workplace. Um, and again, in the book, there's a lot of debate on whether uh, you deserve privacy in your workplace, and the end of the debate essentially says yes, you do, because the relationship between the employee and the employer is of, you're working for them. You're going there, getting paid to do a task, and as long as you're doing it, it should be all fair, all good. Um, and when you're going through the hiring process, they look at your skills, your abilities, what schools you went to, and recommendations from other jobs you had. They shouldn't be looking at what you tweeted, because that's your own business. That has nothing to do with the company. Well, skip one. The next bullet is the right to work. Now, the right to work has a couple different meanings, um, and some of them get really dicey and go really downhill really quickly. So, one of the examples that I brought up in the book is who is allowed to employ people. Is it a private sector? Is it a private? What's it private? Is it a government? Does the government have the obligation to hire everybody? And that gets really messy if you say yes, which is, it's not their job. They have the obligation to make sure the citizens are okay, well fed, all that good stuff, but it's not their obligation to get them jobs. So we're gonna have to focus on the interpretation that the right to work means once you are hired, you should have job security, meaning you're not going to get fired for no reason, and meaningful work, which it doesn't necessarily mean you have a challenging job or work that helps others or makes you feel good. It just means you have autonomy and independence as a employee. So this was one of the challenges when I was reading this. It's called employment at will. It pretty much says you can leave a job whenever you want, but the employer can also fire you whenever they want. So this was a little weird to me, but then I thought back to a couple of my previous employers. One was CVS, one was Chick-fil-A, and I remember having to sign off on this. They pretty much told me straight up, like, we could fire you just whenever we want. And then I thought that was very unfair, but then I remembered my rights. My rights saved me from this type of firing without reason. And we talk about this later, but as long as there's a reason, they could fire you. But if they just fire you because you didn't steal from a cash register and join their like little CVS gang or whatever, they can't fire you because then they'll have to bring up proof. And if they don't have the proof, then you take them to court. So this is what I'm talking about: due process and participation rights. Simply put, as I said before, you can't be fired for no reason, especially if it's morally wrong. So if you don't, I don't know, if you don't, as I said, steal from the cash register. And if you are fired for not stealing from the cash register, you have the right of due process, which essentially says, you have the right to fight for your work, for your spot in the company, and ask for proof of firing. So if they try to fire you for not being at work 3 days straight, you're allowed to ask, show me the proof that I wasn't at work 3 days straight, because I was at work 3 days straight. And on that same token, participation rights give you a voice. You have the right to participate in your company. It doesn't mean necessarily that you will be chosen or your ideas will be, picked for the next campaign policy, but you have that right. Next is employee health and safety. This one was a little goofy to me just because they tried to debate that you didn't need to have health insurance or have any type of safety measurements. And one of the examples they brought up was of a water plant polluting the water, but the government didn't provide any health incentives to those who were getting polluted because cigarettes did worse damage. So I thought about that for a little bit, and I came up with this scenario from another job that I worked previously, FedEx. I worked in an area with a lot of forklifts, and they were very serious about safety training. And I thought, well, cars definitely cause more damage than forklifts. So if they decided to not do safety training based on that fact, there would be a whole bunch of hurt people at FedEx causing the company to lose just massive money. So of course, health and safety is not only good for the person, but good for the business. And to summarize all of this, employees, most of us are employees, you have the right to privacy. This does not mean it's guaranteed, so I suggest everybody puts their Facebooks and stuff on private, because it could always come back to bite you, because employees sometimes feel like they have complete authority over people, which they don't. They just have a title. Remember that, guys. Stay safe out, working. This is my bibliography. I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a nice one.